So, hi everyone, I'm really excited to speak to today's guest, Leah Wilkinson. Now, Leah is an international hockey player for both Wales and GB. But not only this, in 2019, Leah became the most capped Welsh sports person in history. Yet, despite all of these incredible achievements, Leah's journey was not a completely smooth one, but it's an awesome tale of resilience and determination. So, hi Leah, let's start with your Welsh hockey journey. You received your first cap in 2004 and you continued to play for Wales right up to this day. So what would you say are the most sort of notable changes you've seen throughout the setup in this time?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's a long time ago now, 2004. I think things have just probably become a little bit more professional, and that's no one's to blame for that at all. I mean, just times change. There's more technology, more support, more capability of doing a lot of things away from camps as well. So obviously now things like more video analysis means that we can go away and watch footage. The coach can kind of interact with you a little bit more. So they're big things. I think also now there tends to be a little bit more support in kind of strength and conditioning, in kind of physio support and things like that. So a lot of it is actually not necessarily the hockey itself, but the kind of total package that comes with hockey. And I think that's what's changed over kind of the last kind of 15, 16 years. And obviously the fact that it's on TV more and streamed more and things like that. I think typically more people are playing hockey now and love hockey and are falling in love with the sport. So no, it's a great time to be involved with hockey.
Absolutely. And players will always say that when you're able to represent their country and wear the shirt, they're sort of filled with pride and feelings don't really match it. But do you think that over the time you've played, do you think that feeling's developed, or is it still the same feeling you felt when you had your first cap?
I think that's a really good question. I think that when I first played, I probably didn't. I mean, I was really proud of the achievement, but at 17, to be honest, I probably didn't really quite able to sit back and reflect. I just loved hockey and, loved to play, and this was the ultimate thing. And I think as I've got older, I've definitely really appreciated what it means to actually play for your country. And definitely over the last couple of years, getting to more the end of my international career now, I think that I don't take anything for granted. Whereas, and I don't want to sound patronizing here at all, but when I was kind of 17, 18, 19, I was just like, yeah, like getting stuck in, and it was cool, but I didn't really reflect. And yeah, now I think, when I play in a tournament, I'm like, oh, will I play in that tournament again? How many more opportunities will I have to play for Wales? And I think therefore you're able to sit back and reflect and really look at it, what it means.
Well, most people will know that Welsh hockey isn't professional. And so you have to, whilst you're having all these amazing achievements like the game in India, you have to work alongside it, to finance yourself, to finance your life. And you were a history teacher. So what attracted you to teaching?
Oh, well, when I finished university, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I think, like a lot of people, they go to university and they just choose a subject that they're interested in. So I loved kind of history and sociology and that kind of stuff. So I did that. And then after university, I quite honestly had no idea what I was going to do, literally not the foggiest idea. And then it has this realization that you actually need to do something because you have to actually earn some money. So I started to coach, and then I wrote to some schools and got into a kind of a Sherborne school, which was an all boys school in Dorset, and there I started to coach more and more, and I started to really enjoy the kind of the giving back and seeing people learn and being able to teach people. And then the director of sport there said, well, have you thought about teaching? And basically I wouldn't have taught like PE, because for me, I've always loved history and I hate the outdoors and the cold, so I would have been a useless PE teacher. Always loved history, so trained on the job to be a history teacher, and I love it really. I really like being able to stimulate my brain, being able to learn new topics all the time, but also to be able to give back and see students and pupils actually their brains click when they get get it. And also history gets a bit of a rap a lot of the time for being boring and a bit dull. I also teach politics as well, so I'm trying to make them a little bit more interesting.
Well, did you ever struggle with striking an effective balance between that teaching, which you obviously loved, but also your training and your competing, which was another huge part of your life?
Absolutely. I think, especially in the build up to, like we said earlier on, big tournaments, big competitions, the Commonwealth Games, if you're taking mine, that over half the teams in the Commonwealth for hockey will be full time athletes training all the time. Um, and I basically, we got a training program, and no joke, it really was like get up before work. I'm fortunate that the school had a really good like playing field, so I was literally on the grass doing my training. We'll go to the showers and the staff showers, shower, go to work, drive over to the gym, do a gym session, drive to training that evening. And it was just a real balance. And I would never say the word sacrifice at all, because what an absolute privilege and pleasure to be in that position. But it was just hard work. It was hard to fit it all in, and to not have those days when you're like, you know what, I can't be bothered, and to keep on track, especially when it's dark and wet and horrible in the morning. Um, yeah, it is a balance, and my school has also been unbelievably supportive. All the schools I've worked in, because obviously we would go away for tournaments, which would be 2-3 weeks off work. So it's also really important to have that relationship with your employee, that you can go away and people can cover you, and even the nitty gritty of setting cover work while you're away and marking still while you're away. I think being able to balance the two is definitely something that takes time and you have to learn.
Well, the hard work obviously paid off, because in 2019, you finally got your call up to the GB squad after several attempts. But how did it feel when you finally got the call up after all that effort?
I think my first kind of trial with GB was in 2013. I'd been kind of speak about it before, from as early as 2010. And so, yeah, like you said, it was nearly kind of nearly a decade since I got the opportunity to play for GB. And it was difficult, having trials and getting injured a few times, and then finally actually going to my first trial in another trial in 2016, and actually not getting selected after those years was difficult. And obviously it was the year of the years that they won the gold medal in Rio. um, and then a new coach came in, and obviously different coaches want different things, and I got the opportunity to trial again in 2019. And I think by then it was just, I think it was something I didn't really think would happen anymore. I was 32. Yeah, I'd played for Wales 169 times at that point. It'd been, what, 15, 16 years since I'd first played for Wales. And I think for me, I tried to not pin too much hope on it. I think because over the years I'd put so much pressure on me to play for GB, and this was the dream, that actually the older I got and the kind of the knockdowns, I thought to myself, "Do you know what, I'm just going to go away and play hockey and enjoy it." And actually taking away that pressure made me actually play better. And it was unbelievable. My first cap was at Bisham Abbey, where we train against India, which is obviously my lucky team. But it could have been anywhere in the world. It didn't matter where it was, because it was so special to play that first game for GB. And since then, it's obviously been a whirlwind, really, with 4 months later getting offered a full-time contract, taking a sabbatical, which I'm still on now, and training full-time, which is pretty.
I guess it must have been sort of slightly odd to join the setup as sort of with all your experience, and you were slightly older than some of the other players. Do you think that maybe affected your transition and how you were treated by other people?
Yeah, like that is a very good question. There's so much around that. I think, people thought that because I was a bit older, it would be easy to transition into that. And actually it was difficult, because one, that I am older than a lot of other people, which means it's a challenge, already fitting into a group where there's a lot of younger athletes that have known each other all the way through age groups. If you take a man, it's only myself and Sarah that are from Wales, whereas lots of the other girls have played together for years. So that was difficult. And also I think everything was new. So though I was um, very experienced with Wales and experiencing my actual age, still everything was new. I'd never been in certain situations before. I'd never trained full time before. I was getting to know people, and that takes a lot of time. And I think the transition was a lot harder than I thought. And I think that potentially at the start, people thought that I wouldn't need as much help as support because I was older and experienced. Whereas actually, there were things that I didn't know because I'd never been in that situation before. So it was definitely a challenge, and it's probably taken a good year or so to really get used to it and almost be uh, totally comfortable in my own skin and comfortable in that environment.
And you mentioned there that you are in the setup with Sarah Jones, who's also your fiance. But how do you strike that balance sometimes? Because I guess it can get pretty competitive. Is it like a no hockey household, or
we 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 luckily don't play in the same position, and we always say that would have actually been a disaster. So that is one good thing, that we aren't actually in direct competition with each other. Otherwise, I'm not sure it would be a happy household at all. Um, yeah, it is a difficult balance, and I have to admit, it's been a struggle for us both. I think um, to strike the balance, especially during COVID, because obviously at the moment, literally our life is go to training, train, come home, go to train, and it's like that. And obviously we're exceptionally lucky to be in this position, but in the same way, it's obviously difficult to not go and see your friends, go and see your family, go out for dinner. All the things that none of us can do at the moment those are the things that kind of almost keep you a little bit sane and gives you normality. And I think this has been our biggest test. And also obviously we're only a few months out from the Olympics now, and that obviously brings in a whole different thing as well, because now we've got to think about selection. And we have to, obviously Sarah and I talk about the possibility of none of us getting selected, both one of us, and that brings all different issues as well. So yeah, we're very lucky that we can talk about hockey when we want, but we over time we've definitely um had to strike a balance between, okay, let's not talk about hockey anymore, otherwise literally our whole life would be hockey.
that would be tense? Um, well, the Olympics is evidently an aspiration for you both. But how did the pandemic impact your training throughout the whole year? And are you still on track, do you think?
Yeah, again, obviously it postponed the Olympics by a year, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think at the time, at that point, everyone was just relieved that it wasn't going to be cancelled. I think that was the main thing. So once it got postponed, kind of last Easter time, well, I mean, nearly a year ago now, which is mad, really. We had a little bit of time off. And then we started to train in kind of small bubbles, so in threes, etc. Then those threes became sixes, and we slowly built up. So by the time we got to kind of September, we were training as a full group again. We've been able to train pretty much as normal because we have elite dispensation, and we're very, very good with our COVID protocols. So we're very lucky in that regard. But obviously we've had no matches, and that's been tough. We had Pro League games cancelled. We've had a trip to South Africa cancelled 3 weeks ago. We had a trip to Spain cancelled literally the night before we were meant to go, because it's an ever-changing world at the moment. And I think that's been the most difficult thing, is the pandemic has meant that things aren't predictable, and it makes training very difficult. And also, though you love training for a year without any games is quite tough, and you training allows you rewarded with games and with competitive matches, and obviously that's not what we've had. But things seem to be settling down, fingers crossed, and we've got Pro League matches in May, and then it's full steam ahead to the Olympics, so hopefully things will go ahead.
Yeah, I guess you just have to make the most of what you've got at the time, particularly now, and you have to recognize that everyone's in the same boat. But best of luck with the Olympics. And just
You.
finally, just to end, if you could give a young hockey player or any athlete in general a piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, it would be twofold. I think it would be work hard because you don't want to have regrets. And secondly, it would be absolutely to enjoy it, because when you're younger, even me now, I put so much pressure on myself, but actually if you have a mark of, did I enjoy that? Did I enjoy that training session? Do I love the sport I do? And if you love it and enjoy it, you'll do it so much better. So work hard and make sure you enjoy it.